We've all heard the golden rule for healthy aging: eat more fruit. But what if I told you that this well-intentioned advice comes with a hidden catch? Especially once you've celebrated your 60th birthday, what if some of those seemingly innocent fruits could be quietly undermining your vitality? Imagine this: certain fruits, often praised as nature's candy, might actually be working against your body's wisdom, stealthily impacting your circulation, making your legs feel heavy and weak, and even speeding up the precious muscle loss that can rob you of your independence. And no, it's not just about the sugar content we always hear about. Could it be that the real story lies deeper, in how specific compounds nestled inside these familiar fruits interact with your uniquely aging physiology? How they can send your blood sugar on a chaotic roller coaster, silently deplete crucial minerals like magnesium, and even subtly impair the vital oxygen flow to your hard-working muscles. Stay with me, because understanding this could change everything. In this eye-opening video, you're about to discover the 7 fruits that seniors, particularly those over 60, might need to seriously reconsider or even stop eating immediately. More importantly, we'll unveil delicious and genuinely supportive alternatives to help you protect your hard-earned strength, maintain your essential stamina, and secure your precious balance for the vibrant years ahead. Let's start with a household name, a fruit often touted as the epitome of a healthy snack: bananas. Especially if you're not particularly active, bananas truly are the poster child of convenient nutrition, aren't they? They're a ubiquitous presence, tucked into gym bags, smiling from lunchboxes, a staple in countless morning routines, and for many good reasons. They're incredibly easy to peel, require absolutely no preparation, and offer that famously quick burst of energy. But here's the crucial piece of the puzzle that often gets left out of the conversation, particularly for the senior community. The truth is, bananas are highly contextual. This means whether they ultimately help you or inadvertently hurt you depends entirely, and I mean entirely, on your individual lifestyle and activity level. If you're physically active, perhaps you're regularly walking briskly, lifting weights, engaging in vigorous gardening, or simply sweating it out with some joyful movement, then bananas act as a wonderfully fast digesting fuel. Your body can swiftly put those natural sugars and nutrients to immediate, productive use. However, if your lifestyle has become more sedentary, which is common for many over 60, then that same banana, eaten with the best intentions, might be silently contributing to persistent fatigue, that stubborn accumulation of belly fat, creeping insulin resistance, and even those painful, unwelcome muscle cramps. Let's begin with the most obvious aspect. Bananas, for all their natural goodness, can be sugar bombs in disguise. A single, unassuming medium-sized banana contains roughly 14 grams of sugar, and while it's natural sugar, it still behaves remarkably like refined sugar once it enters your bloodstream. When you eat a banana, especially on an empty stomach or without the buffering effect of protein or healthy fats alongside it, your blood sugar levels can spike dramatically, fast. That sudden spike triggers a corresponding surge in insulin, the diligent hormone responsible for ushering sugar out of your bloodstream and typically storing any excess as fat. Once this insulin surge subsides, your blood sugar often plummets, and that's when you really feel it. A wave of fatigue washes over you. Your thinking might become foggy, irritability can set in, and often an intense craving for more sugar arises just to bring your energy levels back up. This relentless up and down, this metabolic roller coaster, can easily feel like the inevitable decline of aging, but in many cases, it's actually just the consequence of unstable glucose levels. Now, if you're an active individual, perhaps you're consistently hitting 10.0 steps a day, enjoying regular workouts, or intensely tending to your garden. Your muscles are eagerly soaking up that sugar and using it as immediate fuel. Your insulin response is generally sharp and efficient. Your metabolism can handle that temporary spike with relative ease. But what if your typical day involves long hours of sitting, minimal physical movement, or perhaps just light housework? In that scenario, the sugar from that healthy banana has nowhere productive to go. So, what does your body do? It diligently stores it, primarily around your midsection, and this isn't just a cosmetic concern. Accumulating fat around your abdomen is particularly dangerous because it surrounds your vital organs. Over time, this pattern significantly increases your risk for developing type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even cognitive decline, and the plot thickens, because the problem isn't solely about the sugar content. It's also about a potential nutrient imbalance. Bananas are famously high in potassium, a mineral crucial for regulating heart rhythm, supporting nerve function, and maintaining proper fluid balance. That sounds wonderful, and it is, until you realize that they are comparatively low in magnesium, and this imbalance truly matters, especially as we age, because potassium and magnesium are like a dynamic duo. They work synergistically to support optimal muscle function, ensure proper hydration at a cellular level, and facilitate clear nerve signaling. When one of these minerals is consistently high and the other is chronically low, particularly in older adults whose magnesium reserves may already be depleted due to factors like stress, common medications, and the natural aging process itself, you start to experience telling symptoms. The most common culprits, those nagging muscle cramps, particularly painful leg cramps that jolt you awake at night, sudden muscle spasms, or a persistent tightness in your calves. These aren't always random occurrences. They are often clear signals from your body that your mineral ratios are off kilter. And ironically, many seniors, believing they need more potassium, double down on bananas to try and fix these cramps. They think more potassium will solve the problem, when what their bodies are actually crying out for is more magnesium. The predictable result, the cramps often get worse, not better. Your body isn't confused. It's desperately trying to get your attention. So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? It's not that bananas are inherently evil. They absolutely are not. They are a tool, a source of nutrients. But like any tool, they must be used at the right time, for the right job, by the right person, If you're about to embark on an invigorating hike, if you're lifting weights to maintain your strength, if you're joyfully dancing, playing a spirited game of tennis, or engaging in any form of physical labor, then a banana makes perfect sense. Your body is primed and ready to absorb and utilize that quick, accessible energy. But if you're settled on the couch watching television, and you reach for a banana simply because you think it's a healthy snack, you're essentially just spiking your blood sugar without a clear purpose, and your body will inevitably pay the price for that metabolic misstep. If you genuinely love bananas and want to continue including them in your diet, that's perfectly fine, but it's time to upgrade how you eat them. Crucially, never eat them on their own, especially if you're less active. Always aim to pair them with a source of protein and healthy fats to slow down that sugar absorption. Try enjoying half a banana with a spoonful of almond butter and a sprinkle of cinnamon. Add a portion to a nutrient-dense smoothie that also includes leafy greens, chia seeds for fiber, and perhaps some collagen protein. All make it a habit to eat your banana after a period of movement, not as a passive, sedentary snack, and be mindful of frequency. For a largely sedentary lifestyle, an everyday banana habit is likely too much. Once or twice a week, particularly when your body has genuinely earned that concentrated fuel through activity, is a far more realistic and healthier rhythm. And here's a call to action for self-awareness. If you're frequently experiencing unexplained fatigue after breakfast, noticing an unwelcome weight gain specifically around your stomach, suffering from those mid-morning energy crashes, or being plagued by nighttime leg cramps, it's time to start tracking your banana eating habits. Consider pulling them out of your diet completely for 2 weeks and observe what happens. How do you feel? Replace them with lower glycemic fruits like a handful of vibrant berries or a crisp green apple. Consciously incorporate more magnesium-rich foods into your meals. Think pumpkin seeds, nutrient-packed leafy greens, or even a small square of high-quality dark chocolate. Ensure you're drinking enough mineralized water. The goal is to support your body's actual needs, not just its fleeting cravings. We live in a world that often seeks quick, easy answers, but true health, especially as we age, is all about context. Bananas are not bad, but they are frequently mismatched to individual needs and lifestyles. The older you get, the more precision in your dietary choices truly matters. Every bite you take either supports your precious energy or subtly robs you of it. Every food you consume either aligns harmoniously with your metabolism or inadvertently clogs the system. And the only reliable way to know the difference is to listen, not to fleeting trends or generic advice, but to the unique, wise signals of your own body. So, ask yourself with genuine honesty, do you feel sharper, lighter, and clearer after eating a banana? Or do you tend to feel foggy, tired, and perhaps a little bloated an hour or so later? Your body is speaking, it always is, and sometimes true health begins with courageously questioning what you've long assumed was unequivocally safe. Bananas aren't inherently bad, but they're certainly not for everyone. Every day, especially if you're not moving your body sufficiently. Next up, let's talk about grapes. Grapes, they look so innocent, don't they? Refreshing, bite-sized, and so easy to pop into your mouth. A bowl of glistening grapes often feels like a safe, even virtuous snack, something you consciously reach for instead of candy or chips. Feeling good about your choice, and for years, you've probably been told they're a heart-healthy option, brimming with antioxidants like resveratrol, beneficial for your skin, and even protective against certain diseases. But here's a perspective shift for older adults, especially those who aren't moving much or already dealing with signs of sluggish circulation. Grapes can quietly and deceptively become one of the most significant triggers of inflammation and metabolic dysfunction in your daily diet. Here's precisely why. Grapes are, to put it plainly, almost pure sugar in a very appealing disguise. That soft, yielding skin and that burst of juicy sweetness inside. It's absolutely loaded with glucose and fructose, two forms of sugar that hit your bloodstream with surprising speed. A single, seemingly modest handful, just about 15 to 20 grapes, can easily pack over 20 grams of sugar. To put that in perspective, that's often more sugar than what's found in a small candy bar. And unlike a candy bar, which might come with a label that makes you pause and consider, grapes don't typically trigger that same sense of caution. They don't feel indulgent. They feel wonderfully natural. But natural, in this context, doesn't automatically mean neutral for your body chemistry and for a senior body, which is often less efficient at processing sugar than it was in younger years. Grapes can cause more insidious harm than you might imagine, especially when they're eaten mindlessly, perhaps handful after handful, throughout the day. The problem really begins with that rapid glucose spike. Grapes, due to their composition, hit your bloodstream fast, and the immediate result is a swift, sharp increase in your blood sugar levels. In a younger, more insulin-sensitive body, this spike is typically managed relatively quickly and efficiently, but for many older adults, particularly those who might already be dealing with some degree of insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, or even reduced pancreatic function, this onslaught of sugar tends to linger in the bloodstream for longer. It creates that familiar, unwelcome roller coaster of dramatic spikes followed by energy-sapping crashes, flooding your system with insulin one moment, then leaving you feeling drained and depleted the next. And every single time this metabolic drama unfolds, your body pays a price. Think increased systemic inflammation, the potential weakening of delicate capillary walls, and significant stress on your entire vascular system. That's precisely when you might start to feel it. Perhaps it's a subtle swelling in your ankles by the end of the day, a new puffiness in your fingers, or a persistent heaviness in your legs, especially in the afternoon. These aren't just vague signs of bad circulation or getting older. They are often direct signals of glycemic overload, your body literally struggling to clear excess sugar from the blood, maintain proper fluid balance, and preserve healthy vascular tone. Grapes may seem light and refreshing, but their metabolic impact can be surprisingly heavy. especially if you're already navigating challenges like varicose veins, neuropathy presenting as tingling in your limbs, or those frustratingly restless legs at night. In these situations, grapes can quietly fuel the very problems you're diligently trying to ease. And here's the profound irony. Many seniors tend to snack on grapes between meals, a time when their insulin levels might already be unstable and their overall digestion is naturally a bit slower. This habit not only raises blood sugar levels unpredictably, but also places an additional burden on the liver, which is then tasked with processing all that sugar that wasn't immediately burned for energy. And if you're not moving much during or after your grape snack, if you're seated, perhaps reading, watching television, or resting after lunch, that sugar simply has nowhere to go. So, it gets stored, and where does it usually end up? Often, it's deposited as fat around the belly, within the liver itself, contributing to fatty liver concerns. And it can also elevate triglyceride levels in your bloodstream, all while promoting systemic inflammation. Now, you might be thinking, but what about the antioxidants in grapes? What about resveratrol? And yes, grapes do contain antioxidants, specifically resveratrol, which has indeed been linked to certain cardiovascular benefits in studies. But here's the unvarnished truth. You would need to consume pounds of grapes to obtain a genuinely therapeutic dose of resveratrol. And by that point, you would have absolutely flooded your body with such an enormous amount of sugar that any potential benefit from the resveratrol would be thoroughly buried under a mountain of metabolic stress. If you're truly seeking the benefits of resveratrol, you'd likely be far better off considering a high-quality supplement or obtaining it from low-sugar, fermented sources like red wine, consumed in strict moderation. Of course, grapes aren't necessarily harmful because they inherently lack nutrition. They often become harmful because they can overwhelm an aging system with a deluge of sugar before any of their more subtle benefits can truly take hold and make a positive impact. So, what's the more sensible alternative if you enjoy the sweetness of fruit but want to be kind to your body? Fortunately, there are many safer, more supportive options. Berries, like raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries, are generally much lower in sugar and significantly higher in beneficial fiber, which helps to slow down sugar absorption. A handful of vibrant raspberries or blueberries can provide a wonderful array of antioxidants, support healthy blood vessels, and have a far less dramatic glycemic impact on your system. Even a few slices of a crisp green apple, perhaps dusted with a little cinnamon, or a moderately sized pear can offer that touch of sweetness you might crave without the overwhelming sugar bomb effect. And here's a golden rule. If you're going to eat fruit, try to do it with a meal, not as a standalone snack. Combine it with sources of healthy fat, protein, or additional fiber to help blunt that glucose response and promote more stable blood sugar levels. Whatever you do, try to avoid snacking on grapes in isolation, especially not in the afternoon or evening when your natural insulin sensitivity tends to be at its lowest. And this brings us to a point that truly matters most as we navigate our health journey through the years. Your body changes profoundly with age. What worked wonderfully for you in your 30s or 40s may no longer serve you, and might even hinder you in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. Your body's ability to tolerate sugar efficiently, to regulate blood pressure effectively, to manage fluid retention optimally, and to circulate blood with youthful vigor naturally declines over time. And that's not your fault. It's a natural part of the aging process. But it is your responsibility to adapt your choices to honor these changes. Grapes might have been perfectly fine when you were constantly chasing young children around or bustling through a busy day full of errands. But now, when your overall activity levels may be lower and your body's recovery processes are naturally slower, you must become more selective, not necessarily restrictive in a depriving way, but certainly more intentional with your food choices. So, if you're currently struggling with issues like persistent swelling, unexplained fatigue after meals, those irksome restless legs, or a bothersome tingling in your feet, take a moment for honest reflection. Ask yourself, how often are grapes truly part of my routine? Are they genuinely helping me feel my best? Or have they simply become a habit, a quiet little indulgence masquerading under the banner of health? Your body doesn't lie. It communicates its needs and imbalances through symptoms. And if yours is sending out these signals, it's unequivocally time to listen. Grapes are not inherently evil, but for many seniors, they represent a significant mismatch. Don't be fooled by the general umbrella term fruit. Instead, be guided by how specific foods make you feel: light, energized, and sharp, or unfortunately, swollen, tired, and foggy. Your circulation, your insulin sensitivity, and your overall energy levels all deserve far better than a fruit that can inadvertently trick your system while pretending to nourish it. The key is to truly know your body, honor your unique biology, and don't let sugar, even from natural sources, wear a deceptive, healthy disguise. And speaking of fruits that can be deceiving, let's turn our attention to another summer superstar, watermelon. Oh, watermelon, it's practically synonymous with summer, isn't it? That incredible sweetness, the sheer juiciness, the ultimate refreshing quality on a hot day. It conjures up images of happy family picnics, long, lazy afternoons, and the carefree laughter of childhood. There's something undeniably nostalgic and comforting about slicing into a big, cool wedge of watermelon when the sun is beaming down. That vibrant pink flesh, the instant coolness it provides, the beautiful simplicity of it all. And culturally, watermelon has certainly earned a glowing reputation as one of the healthy fruits. After all, it's mostly water, right? It's hydrating. It feels light going down, and it's often recommended. But here's the hard truth, the one that most people don't particularly want to say out loud. For many individuals, watermelon can be one of the worst fruits you can snack on regularly, especially if you're over 60 and leading a more inactive lifestyle. And this isn't because it's somehow unnatural or inherently bad. It's because, for many aging bodies, The system can no longer comfortably afford the intense blood sugar chaos that a seemingly innocent slice of watermelon can so easily create. Let's start by looking at what watermelon actually is. It's comprised of about 92% water, which sounds great for hydration. But the remaining portion is mostly sugar. There's very little fiber to speak of, hardly any fat, and no significant protein content to help slow down its digestion and absorption. That means when you eat watermelon, particularly on an empty stomach or without any other food to balance its effects, that sugar hits your bloodstream like a lightning bolt, incredibly fast. In more scientific terms, watermelon has the surprisingly high glycemic index, typically ranging from around 72 to 80, depending on its ripeness and variety. To give you some context, that's often higher than white bread, and when you're older, when your natural insulin sensitivity tends to decline, when your pancreas might not be as responsive as it once was, and when your body's overall blood sugar regulation becomes more delicate and fragile, that kind of intense, rapid spike from a high glycemic fruit like watermelon can unleash what can only be described as a metabolic storm within your system. This sudden surge and the subsequent hormonal responses can create a cascade of effects. And understanding this is key to making informed choices, which is exactly what we'll explore next. So, we were just diving into how that seemingly innocent slice of watermelon, with its surprisingly high glycemic index, can unleash a metabolic storm, especially in bodies over 60. Let's pick up right where that storm begins to gather force. Your blood sugar, almost instantaneously, shoots sky high. You might feel a fleeting, deceptive rush of energy, perhaps even a full sense of heightened alertness. But then, inevitably, within a mere 30 to 60 minutes, that sugar high comes crashing down, often leaving you feeling even weaker, more depleted than before. Have you ever noticed your hands feeling a bit shaky after such a snack? Or your legs suddenly feeling heavier, like lead weights? Perhaps your thinking becomes noticeably fuzzier, your focus blurred, and if this vicious cycle of spike and crash repeats day after day, snack after sugary snack, your delicate blood vessels, the unsung heroes of your circulatory system, begin to suffer cumulative damage. This is particularly true for the tiniest capillaries, those intricate networks in your feet, hands, and even your brain. Watermelon might taste wonderfully light and refreshing, but its physiological effects, especially when consumed frequently and in isolation, are anything but. Here's a critical aspect that's rarely discussed in mainstream health advice: chronic consumption of high glycemic foods, like out-of-context watermelon, actively damages your microcirculation. What is microcirculation? It's that vast, intricate network of incredibly tiny blood vessels responsible for the vital delivery of oxygen and essential nutrients to the farthest reaches of your body, your fingers, your toes, your eyes, and deep within your brain. Over time, repeated spikes in blood sugar inflame these delicate vessels, causing them to become stiff, less pliable, and ultimately dysfunctional. When this happens, blood doesn't flow as easily or efficiently as it should. Your tissues don't receive the consistent supply of nutrients they desperately need to thrive and repair. And that's when you begin to feel those insidious, early symptoms, perhaps persistently cold hands and feet, even in warmer weather, a strange numbness or an annoying tingling sensation in your extremities, those frustrating restless legs that keep you up at night, moments of lightheadedness when you stand up too quickly, or even noticing that minor cuts or scrapes on your lower legs take much longer to heal than they used to. These are not just inevitable signs of aging, they are often clear, urgent signals of poor circulation. And your seemingly innocent fruit choices can either significantly help or dramatically harm that vital process. Now, layer onto this the reality that most watermelon is consumed entirely on its own, perhaps as a mid-afternoon pick-me-up, a refreshing bite after lunch, or a seemingly harmless evening snack. It's rarely paired with balancing elements like protein or healthy fats. This means there's absolutely no buffer to slow down that sugar rush. It slides directly into your system almost like injecting liquid sugar, and the bigger the portion, the more pronounced the potential damage. You don't need to devour an entire melon to feel these adverse effects. Just a few generous slices consumed regularly, day after day, can establish a detrimental pattern of instability in your blood sugar regulation and gradually compromise your circulatory health. And for older adults, especially those already navigating pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or metabolic syndrome, this habit can become a recipe for accelerated long-term decline. Even worse, that wonderfully refreshing sensation watermelon provides can be profoundly misleading. People often eat watermelon thinking it's an excellent way to hydrate. But here's the catch. Without sufficient accompanying minerals, specifically sodium, potassium, and crucially, magnesium, to help hold that water effectively within your cells, much of it can pass right through you. This can, paradoxically, leave you feeling even more dehydrated than before. You might find yourself urinating more frequently, yet simultaneously experiencing an odd sense of fatigue, a persistently dry mouth, or bouts of dizziness that just don't seem to match the amount of hydrating fruit you thought you were consuming. Again, this isn't always just aging. It's often a clear sign of an electrolyte imbalance, frequently caused by a misguided hydration strategy. Watermelon certainly gives you water, but it doesn't provide an adequate supply of the essential electrolytes needed to truly hold and utilize that water effectively within your body. So, what practical steps can you take? You don't necessarily need to swear off watermelon for the rest of your life, but you absolutely need to stop eating it mindlessly, especially if you're over 60 and less active. If you're going to enjoy it, start treating it like a dessert, not as a primary hydration tool or a free health food. Savor a small, sensible portion after a well-balanced meal that includes protein and healthy fats. Never on an empty stomach. Consider pairing it with a few almonds, a small slice of cheese, or perhaps the hard-boiled egg. This simple strategy helps to stabilize your blood sugar and significantly slow down the absorption of those natural sugars. And most importantly, Please don't make it an everyday habit. Reserve watermelon for occasional moments, for special treats, not as a dietary staple. And pay close attention. Become a detective of your own body. Watch how your energy levels, your sense of balance, and your mental focus respond in the hours after you eat it. If you've been feeling inexplicably tired, if your legs often feel like they're dragging, if your mornings are consistently foggy or your afternoons are marked by energy crashes, take a hard, honest look at what you're snacking on. You may genuinely think you're making a healthy choice, but your body, especially over 60, simply doesn't process high-sugar fruits like watermelon the way it used to. What might have once been a harmless treat now often comes with a metabolic cost. Your circulation matters immensely. Your blood flow is critical. Your mental clarity is precious. And every single bite you take sends a signal, either steering you towards enhanced health or subtly pulling you away from it. So, the next time you reach for that tempting slice of watermelon, pause and ask yourself this crucial question: am I truly fueling my body? Or am I inadvertently flooding it? Your honest answer will profoundly shape how you feel for the rest of the day. Next on our list, a category that often flies under the radar, masquerading as health itself: fruit juice, all types. It's arguably one of the biggest, most pervasive nutritional misconceptions in the grocery store, one that's been subtly sold to us, often since childhood. The pervasive idea that a glass of orange juice with breakfast is the epitome of health. That apple juice is the smart, wholesome alternative to soda. That grape juice will magically boost your heart health. The labels themselves sing the siren song of wellness: 100% juice. No added sugar, immune support, packed with vitamin C. It all sounds so incredibly nourishing, doesn't it? It feels like such a responsible, health-conscious choice, but here's the unvarnished truth. Especially if you're over 60 and particularly if you're not engaging in regular, vigorous exercise, drinking fruit juice every day is not only unhelpful, it's often quietly, insidiously wrecking your delicate blood vessels, disrupting your metabolism, and undermining your precious ability to stay steady and balanced on your feet. Here's the critical information that the marketing campaigns conveniently omit. Fruit juice, in essence, is just highly concentrated liquid sugar. It truly doesn't matter if it's organic. It makes little difference if it's cold-pressed, freshly squeezed right before your eyes, or proudly proclaiming to be free of additives. Once you strip away the vital fiber from a fruit, once you remove the act of chewing, the feeling of fullness it provides, the natural slowing of digestion that fiber facilitates, what you're predominantly left with is a deluge of liquid sugar that slams your liver, sends your blood sugar on a perilous spike, and can unfortunately accelerate the aging process. And the older you get, the more challenging it becomes for your body to recover from that kind of metabolic assault. Let's break this down with a common example. One standard glass of orange juice, just 8 ounces, typically contains anywhere from 21 to 26 grams of sugar. Most of this is in the form of fructose. To put that into perspective, That's roughly equivalent to consuming 5 or 6 teaspoons of pure sugar in a single sitting. Yet, you don't feel like you just had a dessert, do you? You often feel like you did something virtuous for your body because the industry has spent decades training you to perceive juice as the liquid vitamin. But fructose, a primary sugar in fruit juice, doesn't behave in the body like glucose does. It doesn't go directly into your bloodstream to be readily used as fuel by your muscles. Instead, it's processed almost entirely in your liver, and when you repeatedly dump large doses of fructose into your liver day after day, especially without the buffering presence of fiber or the energy-burning benefit of significant movement, the result is sadly predictable and can be quite devastating over time: an increased risk of fatty liver disease, burgeoning insulin resistance, and chronic systemic inflammation. Your liver, which may already be functioning a bit more slowly due to age, simply gets overwhelmed. It starts converting and storing that excess fructose as visceral fat, that particularly dangerous type of fat that wraps stealthily around your internal organs. And this visceral fat doesn't just sit there idly. It actively releases hormones and inflammatory signals that can damage your blood vessels, slow down muscle recovery and growth, and significantly increase your risk of falls, persistent swelling, and a decline in overall mobility. And all of this can insidiously begin from something as seemingly innocent and healthy as a daily glass of juice. What's worse, many seniors consume fruit juice first thing in the morning, often on a completely empty stomach. That means there's no other food present to slow down digestion, no fiber to bind with the sugar, and often few other nutrients to buffer the intense metabolic hit. Your blood sugar skyrockets almost instantly. Insulin surges in response, and then, within an hour or two, you inevitably crash, feeling tired, mentally foggy, and often craving even more sugar to combat the slump. And if you happen to pair that juice with other common breakfast items like toast or cereal, you've essentially just layered sugar on top of sugar on top of sugar. Your pancreas goes into overdrive trying to manage the glucose flood. Your circulation can weaken under the strain, and your legs often feel the brunt of it. That heavy, unstable sensation when you're walking, that slight wobbliness on the stairs, that discernible struggle to maintain your balance, especially after a meal, that's not just getting older. That can very well be sugar-induced vascular fatigue. And it's crucial to understand that this isn't just about orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, cranberry juice, even the unsweetened varieties, which are often still high in natural sugars, pomegranate juice, even the no-sugar-added versions, all tend to hit the body in a very similar fashion. Without their natural fiber, your body essentially treats them like sugary soft drinks. In fact, most fruit juices contain just as much sugar as soda, and sometimes even more. They flood your bloodstream with calories that provide very little satiety. You drink them, but you don't feel genuinely full or nourished. You often just feel off, perhaps a bit bloated, noticeably slow, and oddly depleted of true energy. And then comes perhaps the most concerning part. your body can gradually stop responding effectively to insulin. This condition is known as insulin resistance, and it's often the first critical domino that falls, leading towards a cascade of metabolic diseases. It's a key reason why some seniors find themselves gaining weight even while consciously eating less. It's why that stubborn belly fat becomes so incredibly difficult to shift. It's why energy can seem to evaporate after walking even a short distance. Because once insulin stops working efficiently, your muscles can't effectively pull in the fuel they need, your circulation doesn't adapt as it should, and your fundamental ability to stay upright, steady, and clear-minded becomes increasingly compromised. So, let's state it plainly and unequivocally. If you're currently drinking fruit juice every day, please consider stopping. Starting now, it's likely not hydrating you as effectively as you think. It's probably not protecting you in the ways you hope. It's almost certainly not giving you real, sustainable energy. In many cases, for seniors, it's inadvertently hurting you. Even fresh juice made at home, even the kind where you conscientiously leave some pulp in, is still critically missing the one thing that makes whole fruits so inherently healthy: it's fiber. You're not truly drinking fruit. You're drinking concentrated fruit sugar. And here's what's rather remarkable. Many seniors report feeling significantly better within just a few days of quitting juice. Their bloating often diminishes. Their legs feel lighter and more agile. They feel more stable and confident when they stand and walk. Their hunger levels tend to normalize. That cloudy, energy-sapping afternoon crash, often gone, because when you stop flooding your bloodstream with that intense fructose load, your liver finally gets a chance to breathe and recover. Your insulin can start functioning more effectively again, and your muscles, brain, and gut can begin to resynchronize and work more harmoniously. If you want genuine hydration, drink water. If you crave flavor, infuse your water with a squeeze of lemon, a few slices of cucumber, or some fresh mint leaves. If you want the valuable nutrients found in fruit, eat the whole fruit, with all its skin and pulp gloriously intact. Apples, berries, pears, they still contain natural sugar, yes, but it's ingeniously packaged by nature in a matrix of fiber, so it enters your system gently, safely, and respectfully. That's how nature designed fruit to work for us. Juice is essentially a hijacking of that brilliant design, a processed shortcut that often comes with a very steep metabolic price. So, the next time you find yourself reaching for a bottle or carton of juice, pause and ask yourself honestly, am I drinking this for my genuine health? Or is it merely a deeply ingrained habit that's inadvertently keeping me stuck? Because your body is constantly speaking to you, in the state of your circulation, in your sense of balance, in your persistent cravings, and often, it's no longer whispering. It's trying to get your attention. It's time to break the cycle. Ditch the juice, your liver, your blood vessels, your legs, and your mental clarity will profoundly thank you for it. Now, let's turn our attention to another category that often wears a health halo: dried fruits. They're so appealingly tiny, delightfully sweet, and incredibly easy to stash in a bag or keep in a bowl for quick snacking. A handful of raisins here, a few chewy dried apricots after dinner, perhaps some dates thoughtfully paired with almonds in the afternoon. Dried fruits have, for many, become the healthy candy, the go-to item people reach for when they're conscientiously trying to avoid traditional desserts but still crave something sweet and satisfying. And the marketing surrounding them certainly doesn't help to clarify the situation. You constantly see enticing phrases like no added sugar, gluten-free, all natural, antioxidant-rich. But let's make something abundantly clear right now, for most seniors. Dried fruit is not a genuinely healthy snack. In fact, for many, it can be a metabolic and hydration disaster cleverly hiding behind a veneer of healthfulness. To truly understand why, you need to look beyond the convenient small size and the enticing label. A raisin is not just a shrunken grape with the same nutritional profile. A date is not just a fresh fruit in a more concentrated form. Once you dry a fruit, you effectively remove one of its most crucial and balancing ingredients, water. And with that vital water gone, the natural sugars inside become hyper-concentrated. What was once a juicy, hydrating bite of balanced nutrition transforms into a calorie-dense, fiber-light, sugar-heavy little bomb that the body processes much more like a piece of candy than anything closely resembling a whole, unprocessed food. Let's just glance at the numbers, as they can be quite revealing. A single, medium-sized date can contain around 16 grams of sugar. That's often more than a typical cookie. 1 cup of raisins can pack a staggering 85 grams of sugar or even more. That's like drinking roughly 2 cans of soda, but without any of the liquid volume to even momentarily fill you up. And because dried fruit is so small and easy to eat, people often consume it by the handful, not by the piece. They don't tend to chew it slowly and mindfully. They don't get that same sense of fullness they would from fresh fruit. So, it becomes incredibly easy to consume 3, 4, or even 5 times the amount of sugar your body can comfortably handle in a single sitting, often without even realizing the extent of the sugar load. This intense sugar surge inflicts almost immediate damage. Your blood sugar spikes dramatically. Your insulin levels rise in a frantic attempt to manage the glucose flood. And consequently, your energy, brain function, and mood often ride that familiar, unwelcome roller coaster that inevitably follows. You might feel a quick burst of energy at first, perhaps a fleeting bit of satisfaction from the sweetness, but within an hour or so, as your blood sugar plummets, you're often left feeling tired, sluggish, mentally foggy, and maybe even a bit irritable. And because there's typically very little fiber or hydration left in dried fruit to balance that concentrated sugar load, your digestive system can get backed up. You might notice your joints feeling tighter, and your muscles can even lose some of their natural elasticity. And here's where it gets even more problematic for older adults. Dried fruits can significantly dehydrate you. Your muscles, ligaments, and vital organs all rely heavily on adequate hydration to stay supple, flexible, and functional. Water gives your joints that necessary glide and cushioning. It helps your heart pump blood smoothly and efficiently. It keeps your skin from becoming overly thin and dry, and it ensures your digestion doesn't slow down to a crawl. But dried fruits, despite sometimes sounding moist and chewy, actually pull water from your system in order to be properly digested. They absorb fluid as they break down in your gut, precious fluid that your aging body often can't afford to lose. Especially if you're not diligently replenishing it. That's a key reason why you might often feel bloated, experience cramping, or even become constipated after eating a significant amount of dried fruit. Your system is, in effect, drying out from the inside, and you're inadvertently feeding it more dryness. Now, add to this scenario the unfortunate fact that many commercially available dried fruits are coated in vegetable oils to prevent them from sticking together. Or worse, they are infused with added sugars, especially common with items like dried cranberries, pineapple, and mango. Even those dried fruits proudly labeled "no added sugar" can still contain preservatives like sulfur dioxide, which can irritate the lungs and digestive tract in individuals who are sensitive to it. These are, by and large, not clean, whole foods. They are often highly processed products, stripped of their natural water content, loaded with concentrated sugar, and preserved primarily for a long shelf life, not necessarily for your optimal life and vitality. And the impact of these choices often shows up in subtle, creeping ways, perhaps a persistent tightness in your calves, those irksome restless legs at night, an increase in generalized joint pain, noticeably slower recovery after a simple walk, a pervasive muscle fatigue that doesn't seem to match your level of effort, a constantly dry mouth even after drinking water, occasional dizziness when standing up, or a relentless craving for more snacks, particularly sweet ones. These are not just inevitable signs of getting older. They are often clear indications that your body is being thrown off balance by what you're habitually eating. And dried fruits are frequently a hidden, overlooked trigger. So, what's the practical solution here? It's actually quite simple, though it might require a shift in habit. Either consciously cut them out of your diet, or, at the very least, start treating them exactly like you would a dessert, an occasional indulgence. If you are going to eat dried fruit, do it rarely, and when you do, eat only a very small amount. Think 2 dates, not 8, perhaps 5 or 6 raisins, not an entire handful, and always try to consume them with something that will help slow down that intense sugar absorption, a source of protein, healthy fat, or additional fiber. Better yet, consider swapping them out completely for their fresh counterparts. Enjoy fresh fruit instead, a few slices of a crisp apple, a juicy pear, or a small bowl of vibrant berries. These fresh options still contain natural sugar, yes, but they also provide essential water, beneficial fiber, and satisfying volume. They tend to satisfy your sweet craving with far less of a negative metabolic impact. Your body digests them more slowly and gently. Your blood sugar stays much steadier, and your overall hydration is supported, not stolen. And if you find yourself reaching for dried fruits out of sheer habit, perhaps as something to mindlessly chew on while watching TV, to try and satisfy that common afternoon energy slump, or in an attempt to be good, instead of eating a piece of chocolate, pause for a moment. Ask yourself what your body really wants or needs in that moment. Is it true energy? Is it a moment of connection or comfort? Is it genuine hydration? Dried fruit is undeniably easy and convenient, but it rarely solves the underlying problem or need. It often just temporarily covers it up with a layer of concentrated sugar. You and your body deserve more than that, so the next time you pass the tempting bag of trail mix heavily featuring dried fruit, or those little boxes of raisins, or those fancy organic medjool dates at the grocery store, please remember this: small doesn't always mean safe when it comes to concentrated sugar. Sweet doesn't always equate to smart for your metabolic health. And if your joints are feeling stiffer than they used to, if your energy levels are consistently lower, if your cravings are stronger and more frequent, or if your digestion seems noticeably slower than it once was, it's highly possible that dried fruits may be silently holding you back from feeling your best. Don't fall for clever health food marketing. Don't let nostalgia for a simple snack trick your complex biology. Instead, commit to feeding your body what it actually needs for vibrant aging, genuine hydration, metabolic stability, mental clarity, and real, whole food nourishment, not just dry sugar in a deceptive disguise. And this leads us to another common culprit often found in pantries: canned fruit in syrup. At first glance, it often feels like such a harmless, even sensible convenience, doesn't it? A brightly labeled tin of peaches, a convenient single-serving cup of pears, glistening slices of pineapple all soaking invitingly in a sweet, golden syrup. You might tell yourself, well, it's still fruit, and after all, fruit is generally healthy, right? It's certainly not cake, it's not a donut, it's definitely not candy, but here's the unspoken, often uncomfortable truth that most seniors, unfortunately, never hear until it's perhaps too late. Once fruit is canned and submerged in syrup, it essentially stops being a health-promoting food and can transform into a significant metabolic threat. It's not just that it becomes less healthy, it can actually be quite dangerous, all while wearing a deceptive disguise of wholesomeness. And if you're over 60 and perhaps struggling with issues like poor circulation, unexplained energy dips, persistent leg swelling, or that annoying tingling in your feet, this seemingly innocent health food might just be one of the hidden culprits actively pulling you down. Let's be absolutely clear: canned fruit that is packed in syrup is, for all intents and purposes, not really fruit anymore in the way nature intended. It's fruit that has often been stripped of some of its nutrients, softened through processing, and then thoroughly soaked in what amounts to little more than sugar water. And that syrup isn't just innocently sweet. It's frequently made from high fructose corn syrup, HFCS, which is widely recognized as one of the most inflammatory and metabolically destructive substances in the modern food supply. This isn't the kind of natural sugar your body can easily burn off with a brisk walk around the block. This is the kind of intensely processed sugar that can sneak straight into your bloodstream, overwhelm your hard-working liver, and critically damage the endothelium, that thin, incredibly delicate lining of your blood vessels that plays a vital role in controlling how blood flows to your heart, your brain, your muscles, and most critically for many seniors, your legs and feet. That's precisely where the real, insidious damage often begins, when the endothelium becomes inflamed and dysfunctional, which it frequently does in seniors who regularly consume syrup-laced foods. Circulation inevitably slows down. Blood no longer moves as cleanly or efficiently to your lower body. The blood vessels can constrict more easily. Oxygen delivery to your tissues drops, and the cells and tissues in your legs, feet, and toes begin to suffer from this lack of adequate nourishment and oxygen. That's when you typically start to notice the telltale signs, perhaps more frequent or pronounced swelling, especially noticeable in the ankles at the end of the day, a heavier, dragging feeling in your legs after periods of sitting or even after a short walk, an unsettling numbness or a persistent tingling sensation in your feet that seems to come and go without any clear explanation. Or perhaps it's that creeping, disheartening realization that you just don't move as freely or easily as you used to, not necessarily because your muscles themselves are inherently weak, but because your vital blood flow, the very life force to those muscles, is significantly compromised. This isn't just normal aging, it's often diet-induced vascular dysfunction, and regularly consuming canned fruit packed in sugary syrup is one of the fastest and most direct ways to trigger or exacerbate it. And the story doesn't quite end there. We've covered some major ground, highlighting how seemingly healthy fruit choices can, under certain circumstances, especially for seniors, become problematic. From the contextual challenges of bananas and grapes to the concentrated sugar hits from watermelon, fruit juice, dried fruits, and now canned fruits in syrup, a clear pattern emerges. It's not always the fruit itself, but how it's processed when it's eaten, and how our aging bodies uniquely respond that truly matters. But knowledge is power, and the power to choose differently, to nourish your body with wisdom and intention, is now more firmly in your hands. Recognizing these potential pitfalls is the first giant leap towards reclaiming your energy, supporting your circulation, and safeguarding your mobility for all the vibrant years you have ahead. There are still so many wonderful, genuinely supportive ways to enjoy the goodness of nature without falling into these common traps. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the fruits that might be best to limit or avoid, especially after 60, let's recap the crucial takeaways. It's become clear that natural doesn't always mean neutral, particularly when our bodies are navigating the elegant changes of aging. We've seen how high sugar fruits, when not balanced by activity or eaten in the right context, can lead to blood sugar roller coasters, nutrient imbalances, and can even challenge our circulatory health. We've uncovered how fruit juice and dried fruits, despite their healthy reputation, often deliver a concentrated sugar load without the beneficial fiber, acting more like candy than a nourishing whole food. And we've learned that even seemingly convenient options like canned fruit in syrup can introduce inflammatory sugars that our bodies simply don't need. The overarching message here isn't to fear fruit, but to approach it with newfound wisdom, awareness, and a deep respect for your unique physiology. It's about making informed, intentional choices that truly support your strength, your stamina, your balance, and your overall vibrant well-being. It's about listening intently to your body's signals, that fatigue, those cramps, the swelling, the fogginess, and understanding that these are not just random inconveniences, but often valuable messages guiding you towards better choices. You have the power to choose foods that fuel you, not flood you, that energize you, not deplete you. If this information has resonated with you, if it sparked a new level of curiosity about how you can best nourish your body for optimal aging, then I wholeheartedly invite you to subscribe to our channel. We're passionate about sharing practical, empowering insights like these to help you live your healthiest, most energetic life. Don't forget to also click that notification bell so you won't miss out on our upcoming videos, where we'll continue to explore topics that matter most to your well-being. Thank you so much for investing your time with us today. Here's to making choices that honor your incredible body.